India has just announced that China, rather than the United States, will be its future partner. This will have enormous global repercussions. The reasoning is straightforward. The 21st century belongs to Asia, and India is one of the region's most valuable assets. Just look at the IMF's growth prediction for 2024. India currently leads the world with an amazing 7% growth target. But did you notice what makes this chart so interesting? The world's top 4 fastest growing economies are all members of the BRICS alliance. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a critical financial issue that's sending shockwaves through the global economy. In this video, we will discuss the recent moves by India, the relationship dynamics between India and China, updates on India and Russia trade, as well as updates on the US pivot to Asia. This is Earth Economy Explained. The US government understands that Asia is the future, which is why US President Barack Obama initiated his pivot to Asia strategy as early as 2011. The plan was straightforward. If the United States could develop a close relationship with India, it might use that relationship to expand American influence in the region and perhaps curb China's rise. But of course, this never happened. No country could conceivably contain China's expansion. Over the last decade, something extraordinary has happened. India, like many other countries in the global south, received nothing but hollow promises from the US government. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has clearly acknowledged that China holds the future of Asia and, by extension, India. Meanwhile, America has chosen to engage in a new Cold War with China, raising the stakes even more. The United States urgently requires India's assistance if it wants to extend its influence in Asia. At the recent BRICS summit, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi not only boosted down on relations with both China and Russia, something huge is happening behind the scenes. According to Bloomberg, India has risen to become Russia's second largest provider of restricted technology. In this video, I'll explain why India is shifting closer to both China and Russia. The United States is in a difficult geopolitical situation. 2024 has been a nightmare. The country's national debt is ballooning out of control, but the government continues to pay two of the most unpopular and costly wars in American history. The benefits of moving forward with BRICS and conducting more commerce with China and Russia are so obvious that India's shift was inevitable. So let's look at the reasons for India's decision and what it signifies for the future of global power dynamics. We'll begin today's examination with examining the 2024 BRICS Summit, as this event will have far-reaching consequences for the future of our world. Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam all joined BRICS as strategic allies, implying that BRICS is already dominating in Asia. The participation of China and India will make them the most powerful influence in Asia. The US government frantically sought to get what was likely the most significant plot point from. The goal of BRICS 2024 is for Modi and Xi to work together to resolve China and India's border problems. This is a significant agreement because for many years, this was the main point of contention from the West. Given that two of its founding members are engaged in border conflicts, how could BRICS genuinely pose a danger to the G7 or even have an impact on the world? That's a valid issue, but what's preventing China and India from forging an unstoppable future partnership now that the conflict has been settled? To be honest, the development of BRICS 2024 is a ray of hope for poor nations everywhere. Finally, developing countries have an alternative to dominance within the so-called rules-based international order. The BRICS future is still bright, as seen by the 18 new nations who applied to join the alliance and the 13 new partner nations that joined this year. India no longer needs to rely entirely on the US government due to its rapid progress. And this article in the Asian Times titled "Why Modi Shifted India Away from the US and Toward China" beautifully summed up the US's pivot to Asia. The truth is stated in the article. Regarding India's foreign policy, the first and second terms of Modi's administration were among the worst in the country's history. India has lost a great deal of opportunity over this time, as it has experimented with international and geopolitical policies. Modi wants to turn things around in his third term by moving from the US to China. The US government persuaded Modi, after he was appointed Prime Minister of India, that establishing a trading relationship akin to the US's with China would cause India's economy to expand rapidly. Many prominent American corporations would move their factories from China to India, according to claims made by high-ranking US officials. It appeared to be the ideal concept on paper. Decoupling American businesses from China and moving them to India is something the US administration would adore. In an attempt to support this strategy, Modi selected Jai Shankar, an assertive China hawk, as foreign minister in the hopes that his pro-American views would help draw in US technology and investment. Surprisingly, this change never occurred, and US investment in India is still very low today. The media frequently claims that India is the next China and will eventually overtake China as the world's factory. But the reality is that no nation can match China in terms of supply chains, infrastructure, and quality. Consequently, big American corporations such as Ford, General Motors, and Harley-Davidson all left the Indian market during this time, rather than increasing their investments in the US. Most recently, you may have heard that Foxconn, a Taiwanese company that makes iPhones in China, plans to reduce its presence in China and begin producing iPhones in India instead. However, the statistics once again makes it abundantly evident why the majority of iPhones will be produced in China for a long time to come. Approximately 50% of iPhones made in India failed quality control tests, which once more caused US businesses to turn their backs on India. India would not be the next China, and rather than attempting to emulate China and become the world's factory, India recognized a chance for growth and progress. Examine this Bloomberg chart from early 2022 to see how India has risen to the top of Europe's fuel supply rankings in the last 3 years. India imported nearly no fuel from Russia at the beginning of 2022, but over time, the country's fuel imports rose to the point where it currently imports over 2 million barrels of Russian oil daily. There are always possibilities in the market, which is why we study geopolitics. The EU as a whole ceased purchasing Russian oil and gas after Russia invaded Ukraine in early 2022 because they supported Ukraine. But there was just one issue. Russia's inexpensive gas and oil are essential to the EU economy as a whole, and their absence reduces the competitiveness of European industries. The US government once again pushed India, the greatest democracy in the world, to join NATO and the US in denouncing Russia. But India has remained neutral and instead seized the chance to buy Russian gasoline at a discount. The EU continues to purchase Russian oil, which is the most astounding aspect of the whole scenario. They merely employ India as a middleman and pay a premium or higher price for the same gas and oil. Glenn, a Norwegian political professor, made a comment about this phenomenon, stating that it is economic suicide for Europe to purchase Russian energy through India as a middleman at an additional expense. By virtue signaling, European leaders, who take great pride in maintaining the unity of liberal democracies, remained silent, ignored conflicting national interests, and failed to diversify economic reliance enough. India has discovered another potential in addition to the profitable business of reselling Russian gas and oil to Europe. According to this Bloomberg article, India is currently Russia's second largest exporter of restricted technology. The fact that Indian exports of prohibited goods like microchips, circuits, and machine tools exceeded $60 million in April and May, roughly twice as much as in previous months this year, and then jumped to $95 million in July is an incredible development. This indicates that India is the source of about 5% of the sensitive technology used in Russia's military-industrial complex. India's decision to side with China and Russia over the US during the BRICS summit marks a sea change in the balance of power in the world, as well as in India's foreign policy. India has decided on a new course that puts its economic future and regional autonomy first after years of broken promises and strained partnerships. Modi's change of direction highlights India's wish to be viewed as an equal partner rather than as a subordinate, while also sending a message to the world that the era of one-sided alliances is coming to an end, with BRICS emerging as a strong contender for developing countries. The question of how the world will be led has replaced the one of who will lead it. This choice could influence world affairs over the next 10 years as India reinterprets its place and creates a course consistent with its long-term goals and objectives. The world's geopolitics and economy is changing faster and tilting towards a multipolar world. What do you think are the next moves by the US-led G7 countries, EU versus BRICS? Thank you for watching our take on this critical topic. Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video insightful, please smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated. As always, stay safe and stay informed. Thank you for watching Earth Economy Explained.